One of, if not the most common question I get asked as a chiropractor is, what is the popping sound in my neck as you do an adjustment, and what's going on when my shoulder or ankle pops whenever I'm walking or throwing or doing something like that? And there are two reasons for these different popping sounds that occur in our bodies. So reason number one is we have these joints on the back of our spine here called our facet joints. And these facet joints, when we do an adjustment, actually will gap a minuscule amount, and in that gap, a bunch of nitric oxide, which is naturally circulating in our bodies, will come together and form this bubble of gas. And that bubble will explode and erupt, and that's what's causing that popping sound to occur in the spine itself when we do an adjustment. And again, this isn't a dangerous thing. You shouldn't be afraid of that nitric oxide kind of eruption. It's just a natural part of the adjustment. However, it's also important to note that that's not the most critical part of the adjustment. The cracking sound, while it's nice and makes us kind of feel good about the adjustment, isn't completely necessary for a proper adjustment to occur. The most important thing is that the joint is taken to end range, and then an impulse is applied to that joint in order to normalize some of the neurophysiological functioning of some of the muscles and connective tissue and pain sensations that are occurring and coming from that joint. The second thing that can occur is that we can have tight connective tissues that come up against a bony prominence, and then they build tension as they move against that prominence, and then they'll whip over that prominence. So take a rubber band, just like this, and then I want you to pull tension in that rubber band. And then when you release, you hear the release of that rubber band and the whipping as it goes through the air. In our bodies, what happens is we have bony prominences, and we have these long muscle fibers, and these muscle fibers connect to tendons, which then connect to bones. And as we move, we'll build up that tension, and then it'll whip over that bony prominence. This is going to happen in a ton of different joints, like the shoulder, elbow, wrist happens a lot. And then it also happens in things like our hips, knees, and ankles. If you notice, it's a lot of our really mobile joints that have a lot of different muscles and tendons that cross them, as well as different connective tissues like ligaments, joint capsules, things like that. Now, this popping sound isn't something to be really afraid of either. It happens in tons and tons of people, and this doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have things like pain and arthritis and dysfunction, things like that down the road. In fact, there are many individuals who get adjusted quite frequently, and many individuals that pop their knuckles, crack their necks, things like that. And these things are not things that lead to stuff like arthritis and dysfunctions down the road. Another question that I get a lot is, should I crack my own neck? And the answer to this question is maybe not, because when you're cracking your neck, what you're doing is you're taking the most mobile joints that you can in your neck, and you're repeatedly cracking those. And there's nothing inherently wrong about that. It's a safe procedure. That's one of the reasons why chiropractic manipulations are so safe. However, the thing that's important, and one of the kind of guiding principles behind where you do an adjustment, is you want to take the most restricted segments of the spine and you want to manipulate those, or you want to take those to the end range and then apply that quick adjustment force, so then we can increase the range of motion in those joints and not necessarily the ones that already have tons of range of motion. So while it's not an inherently dangerous thing to do, it's not necessarily something that I would recommend to everyone to do on a daily basis. So that's my 2 cents as far as the two things that can cause that popping sound in your neck or other different joints in your body.